Hi there and welcome to Soul Soundtrack. I am delighted to introduce my good friend Alison Young, who is the former Director of Music at Ellen Parish Church and now lives on the west coast of Scotland. We met up a week or so ago to have a chat about music and about her faith and about how she's getting on living across in the middle of nowhere. So I hope that you enjoy lugging in on the chat that we had together.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello, Alistair. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Nice to see you.
You too.
It's been nice and sunny here, and not today, but it's nice. Been nice and sunny, so we've been out in the sun a lot, which is good.
You've been swimming in the loch, I believe.
All my freckles are joined up. Yes, we've been swimming in the loch, and we've been swimming in the sea, and we were paddling in a different loch yesterday. It was lovely.
Oh, I see.
I know we're mad, but it was lovely.
Well, yes, but then Kirk Fest is about being slightly strange and mad and all of that stuff, so so that's all right.
Is that why you asked me back?
Pretty much. And so you have recently moved, as we know. You were, for anybody who's watching who hasn't experienced us before, you were Director of Music for Ellen Parish Church. You lived in Ellen for a wee while, well, maybe more than a wee while, and you moved. So tell us a wee bit about how the move went, how you finding settling into life in Timbuktu or wherever it is that you are.
Well, we live in Moher. We live actually in Bracara, which is along Loch Moher side now. And the move's been fine, actually. We've been made to feel very welcome by both the neighbours and the community, really. I suppose we'll always be incomers, as people are when they move into a small place, but we certainly don't feel like incomers. We feel very welcome, and so it's an interesting place to be, and it's quite different from Ellen. Yes.
Yeah. And you were in Ellen for a couple of hundred years, I believe.
I don't look that old, do I?
Was it fair?
Well, I've aged.
That's what moving.
Yeah, 36, nearly 36 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And but you're not from the northeast. You're not from Ellen. You're
no, not at all. No.
Roots by going across the west.
Yes, I was born in Inverness, and my mum and dad lived in Fort Augustus. Dad was a forester, so mum and dad lived in Fort Augustus. So we were there probably for the first couple of years of my life, and then we moved over to the west actually, and we were in Ardnamurchan and in a wee place called Poloch, which is over the hill from Strontian. For anybody who knows Strontian, beautiful part of the country, and it's still quite remote, Poloch. It was very remote then, but it's still quite remote. And I did my first few years of schooling there. And then we moved to Drumnadrochit, which is halfway up Loch Ness.
Yes.
And then we moved to just outside Inverness, where I spent my teenage years.
Yeah.
But it was always there was always a pull to the west and the Highlands. When we were first married, we lived in Netty Bridge, which is in the Cairngorms, of course. So the hills have always pulled us back.
Oh, so what was it that brought you to Ellen then, where there are not that many hills?
Ian's job. Ian was a teacher, and he was a maths teacher, and that's where we met when we were both teaching in Grantown. And he kind of pioneered he and another teacher pioneered the computer department as it was then in the school. There was one computer, and there was great excitement about this one Apple, whatever it was, computer in the school.
Wow.
And it was amazing technology, and he got really into it, and he wanted to try and move out of teaching. He never really saw himself going very far up the ladder in teaching. So he went and did a postgrad diploma in Aberdeen, actually, on computer technology. And then there weren't many IT jobs, funnily enough, in Inverness area at that point. This was the early 80s. So we came across to Aberdeen, and he was in a software house in Aberdeen for a while, and then he was headhunted to Tate's, the Bundaruri, the paper mill, as it was then.
I see.
And there we stayed, and I think we never really intended staying for as long in the East. We always wanted to move back, but circumstances overtook us, and children's education and the job and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Yeah. Trying to find the right time with children's education and things. And especially when you've got 3 children, there's always somebody that's maybe at an awkward point in either school or in university or careers or these things. So when do you make that decision?
Exactly. Yeah. So and we were very happy in Ellen. Despite what I've said, that we wanted to move back, we were very happy in Ellen, and the children were well schooled in Ellen, and it was a good place to bring children up.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think I missed the buzz of Ellen Parish Church when I first moved. I missed all that, and probably still do. That would be my biggest miss, I think, be the church.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with Northwest Cabra, it's just different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. When you've been so much part of a church for so long and been such a sort of integral part in it, not just a member but an elder and so involved in church, it does make a big difference when you move away and you and be able to build up those connections again it takes a lot, I think. And interesting that you talk about kind of welcome and how the church has been welcoming and I think that when it has always fascinated me how when you speak to people who have become members of Ellen Parish Church or have been members for a while in Ellen Parish Church, they often say that you were part of the welcome, that you were one of the first people to speak to them and welcome them and things. And the hymn that you've chosen to hear first of all is the song or the hymn "For Everyone Born a Place at the Table," which kind of has a note of welcome in it. It's written by Shirley Arena Murray. So tell us a little bit about why you've chosen that one today.
Well, it's just I really, really like Shirley Arena Murray's writings. She, of course, was born in New Zealand, and raised in New Zealand, and of course she died just earlier this year, sadly. So there'll be no more words from Shirley Arena Murray. And she wrote such hymns as, well, "For Everyone Born a Place at the Table" and "Loving Spirit," which I love as well, and hymn 597.
Still got all of those numbers.
And "Touch the Earth Lightly." I love that one as well.
Yeah.
And they all, I think the words of them all the hymns that she wrote resonate with our world today. But I think for me, "For Everyone Born a Place at the Table" just encapsulates everything that I feel about the church and the world and what our world should be like. God created us all, and we should all be equal, and regardless of our creed and our colour or where we live or what we do and what we haven't done or how we've conducted ourselves, there's always a welcome for us. Jesus always welcomes us at his table, and the words are just so wonderful. And I love because like you, I love that line in the hands of a child in hands that are wrinkled.
Yeah.
I just love that. And verse 4, when I was reading about Shirley Arena Murray, "For just and unjust a place at the table, abuser abused with need to forgive." I read that sometimes that verse is omitted because it can cause some hurt and everything. But I just think that that's really what God's all about. He's all forgiving, and regardless of what we have done, there's always still a welcome for us. Yeah.
It's a really powerful line, and there's so many lines in hymns that I think one of the signs I think of a good songwriter and a good hymn writer is to be able to encapsulate something that is so meaningful and can cause so much thought, and whether you agree with it or not, can make you think so much just in a few simple, understandable words.
Yes, I think it's for the times that we're in just now, after all the racist and the Black Lives Matter things. I think more important, that we're all equal, we're all the same at the end of the day, and God created us all, and I just feel very strongly about that, regardless of what. I mean, we can't like everybody, and we can't get on with everybody, but that doesn't mean to say we can't love them and have compassion for everyone around us.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a parent friend of ours that said to her child once, "I'm going to go and I'll need to love you from a different room."
Yeah. Yes, been there. I always love you, but I don't like you just now.
Yeah. It's always that.
So I think, Shirley, it's definitely that's it. Just encapsulates for me what the world should be, and certainly what the church should be.
Absolutely. So we're going to hear that song just now by Shirley Arena Murray, "For Everyone Born a Place at the Table."
For everyone born a place at the table, for everyone born clean water and bread, a shelter, a space, a safe place for growing, for everyone born a star
So growing up, did faith play much of a part in your life? Was that something that your family did? What was your experience of that growing up?
I think I had a kind of checkered career faith-wise, I suppose. When we were in Poloch, here over in Ardnamurchan, there was no church, of course. The nearest church was in Strontian.
Yeah.
And I think we did go there once a month, or no, maybe not once a month. We maybe went when it was communion.
Mm-hmm.
But Mum did do a wee Sunday school in the school. The school there were only 9 pupils in the whole school. It was a very tiny school.
Aye.
And I don't know if everybody came to Sunday school. I can't really remember. And occasionally the minister did come across, because I remember us sitting on the school chairs, Fiona and I, with our heads bent, looking at each other and giggling during the prayer. And Fiona being my sister. I know. So it was very austere. I remember it being very austere, as many of us of our generation, and well, your generation too, to a certain extent, I would imagine, when you were young, it was more austere.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when we moved to Drumnadrochit, my dad decided that he didn't like the church, and that was it. He was never as devoted, I suppose. He was never. Mum was more a believer than Dad ever was.
Yeah.
But because Dad left, she felt she had to as well, and so we kind of drifted away from Sunday school, moved again. It wasn't until my middle of my teens, I think, that I was asked to play the harmonium, as it was then. And the harmonium is an organ that you have to pump yourself with your feet as you're playing. So I got involved in that in the Barn Church in Culloden, which was a barn in these days.
Yeah.
And yes, and that's how I got involved, was through music, playing, really.
Aye. How's your faith developed over kind of from childhood and through that music back to church, but presumably it was more than just music that connected you to the church.
Well, I think the music brought me into the church. I don't think I really connected properly.
Yeah.
Until I think probably until I moved to Nethy, I would say, Nethy Bridge, when I was married. I really just dabbled before that, I would say, if I was completely honest, which I should be. When I started teaching in Grantown, I was asked to play at Cromdale and Advey, and I played regularly there. And then when we moved to Nethy, I played even more regularly, because I played sometimes in Nethy as well. Mm-hmm. And that's when I joined the church. So I think it was then I began to connect more with my faith. And I think it's just grown slowly, I would say, from there. And I think, like lots of people, again, of my generation, and probably, I suppose, Presbyterian, we're kind of shy about talking about our faith. We don't really know what to say, how to say it. I don't feel, I think I said to you when you asked me about this, I don't feel very eloquent about it. But I think that has improved a lot. And of course, there are times where, as member of the ministry team, you're plunged into having to do something like take Friday morning prayers when the minister sleeps in. I mean, there's no hope, really.
Well, no.
That was a morning. So, but also here as well, I've grown even more here, I think, because we have a discussion group on a Tuesday called Table Talk, and the people who go to that talk very openly about their faith and pray very openly. And I thought that might be different when I came here. I thought that it might take a backward step, and I don't think that's the case, which has been good.
Yeah. Well, it's good when if you've taken a development step in your faith, but then you feel like it's on, and that it's being encouraged. And when you talked about coming into church and kind of faith developing through playing in church and through music and things, and obviously that's something that God has gifted you with, is the musical ability. where did that all start from? Where do you remember the kind of first time that you were aware of music, that you played music? What's your kind of experiences of that?
My mum singing to me, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Mum sang and told us stories and like lots of mums, but she was good at singing and then my dad was musical. He played a lot by ear.
Yeah.
So there was always music, and my grandmother was musical. My paternal grandmother was musical. I don't know much about my maternal grandparents, but Dad's mum was musical. She played the piano. My uncle played the piano. Yeah, so Dad was musical. There were always sort of ceilidhs going on in the kitchen in Polloch in the winter time. I would be in my bed, of course, but and over in Strontian, we would be over at the hotel over there, and there'd be all sorts of ceilidhs, people playing fiddles and singing and everything. At school, we were encouraged to sing some Gaelic. It was Gaelic songs, really, we sang, and I used to sing 2 or 3 times in the local mod. I never got to the high heights of the national mod. I love, as you know, leading choirs and that sort of thing, and enabling people, I think, rather than actually being the sole performer myself. But I didn't start piano till I was about 13, really, before I started piano. So, but actually, I never intended going. I never wanted, not intended. I never wanted really to go into music. I wanted to be a nurse.
Oh, I see.
And always wanted to nurse, and I was told that no, I would be too. I wouldn't cope with it emotionally. I wouldn't cope with it, and I think that's my biggest regret. I think is that I didn't. I think I would have made a good nurse. Yeah. She says modestly, but I think I would have made a good nurse, and I think I didn't have the courage of my own convictions just to say, well, do you know what? I'm going to go and try it, and I didn't. So,
what instruments can you play? Are you?
Instruments.
Yes.
I've dabbled in quite a few instruments over the years. Before I had a piano, I had a wee piano accordion, and I used to perform it. Despite what I've just said, I used to perform at sort of church socials in Drumnadrochit and things like that. Piano, obviously, which I learned as a teenager, and then when I was at college, we had to learn guitar, and we had to learn recorders. Plural, descant, treble, tenor. I have one of each of these, and singing. I've sung all my life, really, and clarinet. That was my third study at college. Very much the third study. I think I was third clarinet in the college orchestra. 2 notes per bar or something, you know. Did one day to second clarinet because the first clarinet didn't turn up, and somebody had to move up. So I. Dizzy Heights, the second clarinet, you know, in the college orchestra.
Yes.
I tried to think what it sounded like. Anyway, it was compulsory. We all had to take part in the college orchestra, and it was great fun. I have to say, I loved it, but I was never really good at it. And recently, I've taken up the clarsach.
And people obviously take a lot of comfort and get a lot of strength through music, and especially through music and worship with their faith. So where do you what gives you strength in your faith? What do you find kind of bolsters that and strengthens you?
I think yes, music does give me strength in my faith. I certainly go to CDs and things like that I enjoy, but I often play and or sing.
Yeah.
I certainly play when I'm sad or low, or fed up, or even when I'm happy, I'll just think, right, let's go and play the piano. And as you know, being a musician yourself, half an hour can go by like that.
Oh yeah.
And you don't easily, and you don't notice the time. So yes, and it does help, and not just playing hymns and worship songs, and playing anything really. I've been playing some film themes, for example, or some lovely film music, and so that does help me. I think there are other things though that strengthen me. I love being out in the wilds and watching the birds and the wildflowers. I absolutely adore wildflowers, and the exquisiteness of a little tormental wee yellow flower. It's perfectly made, and I just that can bring tears to my eyes. Just a lovely clump of wildflowers, and that is a legacy from my mum, really, because she used to take us out for walks, and she knew the names of wildflowers, and we both Ian and I both enjoy doing that now. I can identify quite a few wildflowers now. I'm by no means an expert, and I love that. And also just being with other people. I think church people. I think we need and I think that's been great that people are still doing things through Zoom and through the internet during the lockdown. There's people have been able to still connect with each other. Yeah. I think that's been one of the biggest things for me during lockdown is not being able to go to church. Yeah. Church never stops normally. Other things stop for the summer or stop over Christmas, but church doesn't. So it's so unusual for us not to be able to go to church. Yeah. And so that gives me a huge amount of strength. But I'm
going to ask you about doubts and times when you struggle and that kind of stuff, because nobody with faith really ever. It's never complete plain sailing. You don't take on faith.
Not at all.
Everything is wonderful. And so are there times when you've kind of dipped or had doubts with faith? How have you coped with that?
Definitely, I think it's good maybe to have doubts sometimes, because I think makes you question things and it makes you think about things, and it certainly makes me want to read more about my faith and more about Jesus, and I do that. But I've been blessed really in my life because I've never had really major tragedies as such. My teenage years were quite turbulent for a variety of reasons, but then faith wasn't really a thing then. But maybe the strength was there because I got through it. Yeah. So maybe God was there, and God was there, obviously, and maybe got me through it. And so I think I found the situation with Sky, which you know about quite a lot. Sky is our niece who's had a lot of trouble in her life, and gave herself to the Lord a few years ago, but has just gone completely off the rails, as we know. And I've struggled with that. Where was God there? But God is still there, and God is still through my reading and through praying. I believe that God is still there. God is still with her. She just has chosen not to listen to him at the moment for whatever reason, and she's discarded that at the moment. And I just keep hoping and praying that will change. Yeah, and that something will click, and she'll think, no, this is not right for me, and turn back. Yeah.
And that's so often the prayer when those folk that we love are going through hard times and are making choices that we don't necessarily agree with, that we pray that they will turn and come back and be and find somewhere that's welcome. And that kind of goes back to almost some of the reasons why to choose the Shirley Rayna Murray song is
exactly and
the open arms of God. Yeah.
So I think that I did struggle with that for a while, but I think I've sort of worked my way through that. I think I've found I've struggled a wee bit with the change from being director of music to just being the person in the pew. Yeah. I think not just because I want to be in the know, being so involved and being part of the leading of it all, and sitting in the pew and being I struggled with that, I think, a bit. I'm not being very eloquent about that, but and not just because of Ellen and because I, nothing to do with, maybe it did, but I'm not aware of it being anything to do with the fact that, I'm not at that keyboard and she is, kind of thing. Because I was, as you know, more than glad that Rachel was able to, to take over, and for it just to happen, just like that, there was happening, which is great. But even here, just being my relationship, obviously, with Stuart, our minister, is quite different from how, probably my relationship was with you, because, we're friends now, not as I was with you as director of music and minister. We were colleagues. You were my boss. So it's quite different now, being just the sort of hunter in the pew, as it were,
Yep.
And there are still pews in North West Lochaber. So that's been a wee bit of a struggle, but that's maybe nothing to do with my faith as much as just the transfer from one thing to another, as well as the move.
Yeah. Now, and where
do I fit in?
And what is that I do? So, yeah. I can kind of.
I think that's exactly right. I think it's where do I fit in with this all, and I suppose to a certain extent there's a feeling of not being needed the same.
Yeah.
And in some ways that's quite a nice feeling, because there's that freedom of not, well, doesn't matter if I say no, I don't have to do it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose there is a bit of a feeling like that as well, as a lot of people who retire, I think, feel.
Yeah. And any kind of transition is like that you've had transition from director of music to not, and retiring and moving as well. It's all of these kind of things.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot to you're kind of hitting some of the top stressful things, is what I often say to folk that are doing that.
And I think it's been, obviously, until lockdown, I couldn't see what was happening in Ellen and be part of what was happening in Ellen. And I have been able to since lockdown, obviously, through the services being online, which has been lovely. But part of it is some of it makes me miss it too much. So I have to, you have to kind of decide, well, where are you? And my place is here in Moorer. But I still tune in and enjoy.
You do.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, your second song is "How Deep the Father's Love," which is a song about faith, and I think one of these songs that often gives people strength in their faith. So two questions about this. One is what does this song mean for you, and possibly in answering it you'll answer the second question, because I know that there was a Gaelic version that you're very fond of as well. So tell us a wee bit about those.
Well, I love the tune of How Deep the Father's Love is, and annoyingly in our church, Stuart chose a different tune one week, and I really resented that. I know.
Would you ever choose different? Anyway, yes.
I know. Anyway, so there we go. I love the tune, but the hymn is just that. It's all about God's love, and I just find the words incredibly powerful, and it's just so incredible how deep God's love is for us, and I don't know if we just really appreciate just how deep. At least maybe I don't appreciate just how deep. And as it says in Romans 8, nothing can separate us from the love of God that's in Jesus. And that's the hymn says that completely. And verse 2, my sin upon his shoulders. How amazing is that? I just God knows how much I've needed that grace and pardon in my time, and that grace and pardon came. And I think this verse usually brings me to my knees, metaphorically, and it brings tears too. I just it's incredibly powerful. And the verse 3 as well, with the I should be able to quote it.
Number
549. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection. Why should I gain from all of this? I cannot give an answer. But this I know with all my heart, his wounds have paid my ransom. I can feel the tears, just reading that. I just find it really, really powerful. It has meant a lot to me over the years, just with what things that have happened in my life.
Yeah.
And often when it was chosen as a hymn for a service in Ellen, I would have to play it in the morning first before I either went into church or before I even came down to church to get the tears before I could play it in church. Once I played it once, I was fine, I was calm, I could do it, but often I would find that difficult. Yeah. So the Gaelic version is, what did I do that CD now? It is. Is sung by a friend of mine, Donnie Murdo MacLeod, who used to be a presenter actually in the Free Church in Aberdeen. And he is a Christian, and he sings it on a CD called La Charrier, which is this, if you, you see that. And he sings it along with Marianne Kennedy and Bruce McGregor, who play fiddle and clarsach. And it's just very nice and soothing and calming. And I really like Donnie's voice. But in Gaelic, and I apologise to all you Gaelic speakers out there, I'll try and pronounce it. It's Kia Doin Gra and Ahar Goin, which is How Deep the Father's Love. But it's just lovely.
Yeah. Alan Cameron will be able to tell you if you got it right.
He'll correct me, no doubt, yes. I think it's not too bad. So if anybody's interested, listen to that. Donnie Murdo MacLeod, very nice.
a komis njarsnøy alles, ach nemni uljajes kriest, uvas sashedig moror, karsan vich bonoch onagurs, schön kest nach gaverejoch, ach tjerach in chanam chriehen, gel medik pach lechreich.
What are you kind of looking forward to once lockdown's finished? But you've also got kind of new experiences and new stuff over in the West. What's your kind of thoughts about retirement and all of that kind of stuff? And of course, you've got Joey sitting next to you to look after and to make sure that he's all right as well. Hello, Joey.
Well, after lockdown, I'm looking forward to being able to see the rest of my family. We haven't been able to go and see Ian's mum, obviously, for and sister in Lossiemouth, and we haven't been able to see my sister and brother-in-law. And I find that, obviously, like everybody else, quite hard. Really looking forward to that. And seeing Alistair, probably won't see Craig for a while, but since he's in New Zealand. But
not this Alistair, your son Alistair.
Son Alistair, yes. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I hope we'll see you too. But son Alistair, yes. As far as dreams and ambitions is concerned, I think I've kind of fulfilled them by coming here, because we always wanted to do that, and that has come true. And we couldn't have imagined having, for us, it wouldn't be for everybody, but for us, a nicer spot. We're out on our own, but we've still got shops and amenities reasonably close by. Mm-hmm. And that is, really, really nice. Apart from that, other things we want to do is it's so easy to go for walks. So, and as I said earlier, I love watching the birds and I love the flowers, and so want to do a bit more of that. We want to buy kayaks. Mm-hmm. I would quite like a kayak as well, but I will not be as adventurous as Ian. I think if it's a nice calm day, I'll paddle about in the loch down here at the bottom of the garden, but beyond that, I don't know how much I'll do. But Ian and Ailey are keen to do quite a bit. Ailey has done a bit in Skye. She did some a few years ago. Yeah. So we're keen to buy kayaks. Costs a lot of money, mind you, and we're poor pensioners now, so whether that'll ever come to... Also, I think I'd like to get more involved in the community. I think I was beginning to feel as if we were going to do that, and then of course lockdown happened. Keen to get involved in things in the church. I'd already sort of helped run a sort of singing evening to learn some contemporary music. So I'd like to do a bit more of that. And we were just about to help be volunteers at the Landsea and Island Centre in Arisaig, which is a kind of tourist place. So we'll get to do that once it reopens. So just being involved in the community and feeling as if we're helping in the community and not just retiring here and being, using things, actually,
but giving stuff.
Serving the community in some ways, serving the community and the church. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we wish you every blessing in all of that.
Thank you.
It'll be lots to keep you occupied and lots to keep you out of mischief and doing all of that as well.
Yes, and of course I miss all my friends in Ellen, but well,
you'll leave some time in all of that busyness to come back to Ellen to visit us.
Yes, and I will and do.
Now we've got time to squeeze in just one more song, and so you've chosen. Of course, I asked for 2 songs and you chose 3.
Well, I could have chosen an awful lot more than that, so thank yourself lucky. It was really difficult, very difficult.
It's really hard. It is really hard to cut them down. So the Fishy Music song, God Beside, tell us a wee bit about that.
Oh, I just think it's just great. Apart from the fact that I loved playing it with you and Ashley when we first learned it, it was just you and me and Ashley. Yeah. And I love watching the children doing all the actions and just seeing the joy in their faces as and James dancing around, and yes. It's just fabulous. But it just says it all. God's beside us in everything we do. Every day He's there, and what more could we need or want? God beside. Just says it all for me. Yeah,
wonderful, and a great way to finish off. So thank you, Alison, for being our guest this evening on Soul Soundtrack.
And thank you, Alistair, for inviting me, and I wish God's blessing on everyone in Ellen and Ellen Parish Church.
Thank you. And so we'll hear God Beside.
When I wake up in the morning in my bed, God behind, God beside, God ahead. When I'm eating up my breakfast, bacon and egg, God behind, God beside, God ahead. When I'm going on a summer holiday, God behind, God beside, God ahead. When I'm opening up my presents Christmas Day, God behind, God beside, God ahead. In the sunshine and the rain, in the laughter and in the pain, yeah, with us in the morning, with us in the day, with us in the evening, always, always. Do 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 do. When it feels like you've been left out on your own, God behind, God beside, God ahead. When there are no cards or letters, no one phones, God behind, God beside, God ahead. When you fall out with your friends, feeling sad, God behind, God beside, God ahead. When somebody in your family drives you mad, God behind, God beside, God ahead. In the sunshine and the rain, in the laughter and in the pain, yeah, with us in the morning, with us in the day, with us in the evening, always, always. With us in the morning, with us in the day, with us in the evening, always, always. Do 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 do
Thank you, Alison, and thank you also to Donnie Murdo MacLeod for allowing us to use that version of How Deep the Father's Love. So join us again tomorrow evening as we lug in on another conversation about faith and life and music here at 7:15 on Soul Soundtrack. Hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.